Hello and welcome back to our NBL team previews, brought to you by the Standard Squeeze. Use promo code IFS15 to get 15% off your order. Hammer, we are here to talk about the Sydney Kings, the best team in the comp on paper. What's been going on in Sydney?
Man, it's all been happening in the Hoops capital, and that team is stacked. Yeah,
If they don't win the comp, I'll eat my hat.
yeah. So as good as that might be for winning the comp, it is a bit of a rough thing to play with for Supercoach, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm struggling to work out how all these guys fit. I know that they fit well. I actually think that they fit really well from a basketball standpoint.
Yeah.
But it's just working out who's going to take away from, I suppose, stats. Who's going to take
Mm.
rebounds? Who's going to take assists away from the other players on the team is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, we've seen two preseason games so far against New Zealand Breakers, a 44-point drubbing, and I think they turned the scoreboard off at halftime in the second game and said they had to pick them up at half court, couldn't press anymore, it was that bad. But you look in these games, you look at the minute spread and the stats, these starters all checked out of the game with about 12 minutes each. So it's really hard to get a gauge, but also, is this signs of things to come where they're going to be blowing teams out and we're going to be playing equal opportunity basketball like it's under 12s again?
Hey, they could be, and especially like if we're talking about under 12s teams, they did play the New Zealand Breakers, so I'm going to leave that there. All my brews can come at me in my DMs there, but Jalen Galloway in a weird one leaves from signs a 3-year contract with an NBA clause. Gets out of his contract, leaves for Milwaukee, gets waived from Milwaukee, comes back and takes exactly the same contract that he signed to start off with.
Yeah, on a team where he's probably going to have even less opportunity than he did before because they've recruited around him. They are stacked. There's no doubt about it. It's um, probably something for us to really be wary of or careful and pick our matchups because, like you said, they're going to be stealing stats off each other. There's going to be games where matchup dependent. Some of you guys can't play, and a lot of these guys are not cheap. And so, if we're not playing, we're not getting stats. You're going to start to lose value very quickly. And we need to be really wary of that.
And it's due to the fact that they've played in the NBL before is to why
Mm.
they just can't come in. Well, Cam Oliver, one, has come in at an import price. They've sort of thrown
Yep.
his old stats out the window.
Yeah, it's been a
And
while.
Xavier Cooks.
Yeah. So probably best we talk about the schedule to start with because they are very relevant early on. They've got the single like everyone does in round one, so that kind of cancels out. But then they've got the double, single, double, double, which across that span is not too bad compared to a lot of other teams. And probably some of these players, if you can stomach the minute share, is going to be uh, possible holds for you.
Yeah, it's just on those weeks. Can you afford to have those single weeks? Can you afford to have somebody that you paid Xavier Cooks, very, very highly owned? Can you
Mhm.
afford to have Xavier Cooks? Possibly. He's 37% owned. Can you afford to have this guy sitting on your bench in a single? The answer's probably no.
I'd argue no as well. I think you could get just as good a production for someone around that 277K, save yourself 100 grand and spread that elsewhere and have a playable bench. Um, but hey, now you mentioned X. Is he one of your top picks for this team?
No, he's not. It's Space Cam. You mentioned somebody that you can get for
Yeah.
277K when they're playing beside each other, when they're playing similar roles. I think when you see Space Cam start at the 4 and then hopefully play those backup 5 minutes as well, I am going to take the cheaper option.
I'd agree, but you did mention there that you're going to see him start at the 4. I was really surprised in that preseason game against New Zealand to see him come off the bench and Kelly LePepe get the start at the 5 spot. Uh, in saying that, despite coming off the bench, Space Cam erupted. 17 points, 9 rebounds, just missing the double double, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block in only 18 minutes. which, quick math, 39 Supercoach points. That is not a bad return. That's 2.05 Supercoach points per minute. So if that's the production, despite playing against under 12s and matching up on Freddie Gillespie, who we've talked about in the New Zealand pod, who is probably subpar despite his reputation as an elite defender. Um, is this playable? And why is he coming off the bench?
Yeah, I don't know. It's honestly, there's just too many guys there.
Mm,
Um, I do think that in big games he will start at the four. They were playing New Zealand. I think when it comes down to the regular season, they'll be looking to get their best guys out on the honestly out on the floor. Um, the other top picks, Jalen Adams, and
mhm,
again, it's just about having somebody at that price. Can you bench him on a single, or do you just get him
mm.
in if they've got a double double coming and cash the points?
Yeah. So for me, Jalen Adams, as nice as he is, he was a little disappointing last year after his MVP season the year before. I know there were some issues in Sydney, but we both selected him at certain times, even captained him, and it never panned out. Um, I'm looking at that point guard position. I'm looking around the league. And I'm thinking every single team except Perth has an elite point guard. A lot of these guys are coming in a lot cheaper. Can you do better elsewhere? Does the schedule fit? For me, I'm not high on Jalen Adams for this reason. I'd probably be higher on Cam Oliver in this instance.
No, sounds good. And look, when we head into cash cows, while not dirt cheap, because basically every one of these players have played in the league before, except
Mhm.
for like if you go down as far as Kelly Lepipe,
That'll work.
and Tyler Robertson and blokes like that. But yeah, even your Liafas, your Tuis, your Shawnee Bruces, we've seen Bull Qual, we've seen all these guys in the league. I can't go super cheap, but I can look at Jalen Galloway. Look, he was talented enough to get picked up on an NBA roster, even for as short of a time as it is. But it's just how is he going to fit in this team?
And once again, there's just too many mouths to feed. I'm not loving what you're putting down there. You look at that four spot, you've got competition from Kawatnoy, who's been playing well throughout the preseason, who's gonna make his case for minutes. You've got Cam Oliver, Xavier Cooks around that four spot as well. There's not a lot available. You've got Alex Tui who can at times slide up and down. It's a log jam. And as good as he was last year, I think the price right now is too high or is probably just right. I don't think we're going to get any growth. For me, the cash cows on this team are Tyler Robertson and Kelly LePepe. If what we've seen in the preseason continues and they're blowing teams out, a bit of equal opportunity. We've heard Brian Gorgian go on record saying that this is not just about winning. We're going to develop some guys and help them out. So for me, the value is going to be in the 69K guys there, but I really don't see a lot of cash cows in Sydney.
No, I had to look at it, and you've just got to put someone down, and that's the segment.
Thanks, Cam.
But red flag and fool's gold.
Mm,
Do you want me to answer this,
I would
or do you want to
love you
take
to
this
answer
one?
this.
I think it's X. I think it is 37%, 37.7% owned Xavier Cooks. Hear me out. Pretty shitty schedule. Filling a log jam, playing beside or in the case like it was the preseason, Cam Oliver taking minutes off him, which he didn't get before. Xavier Cooks was the absolute king of NBL fantasy. I don't see the opportunity in Sydney for him to be this super coach stud, which screams red flag, screams trap, and screams fool's gold. Just because everybody else is doing it and he's the biggest name does not make him the biggest. You just he's not must have.
No, I agree completely. You look at the team that Sydney had the year he won the MVP, it's a completely different build to what they've got now. They had Justin Simon at the three spot last time. He's a defensive guy who can chip in occasionally on the offensive end. They had Jordan Hunter as the five man who sets great screens, rolls occasionally. you had Derek Walton Jr. setting this guy up on a platter who was not quite the score first point guard that Jalen Adams is. I just feel like this team is a different dynamic and it's so much deeper. And all the issues we've talked about with too many mouths to feed, I would be very, very shocked if his impact is the same. I don't think it needs to be the same for this team to be successful.
And that's probably the scariest thing, like that we can see Brian Gorgian winning himself an NBL championship without playing these elite guys massive minutes. That's what made some of those players on Adelaide last year so exciting. For them to
Yeah.
win, they only had to go 6, 7 players deep, which is great for Supercoach. Not always good for winning. Great for Supercoach,
Hmm.
and the Kings just do not excite me.
No, it's yeah. There is not a lot to like about this team. I think the only one, and I've been off him all year. I'm starting to warm to the idea after that monster preseason game is Cam Oliver, but outside of that, I'm not seeing anything I love. Not the schedule, not the not the roster. And we know Brian Gorge is not afraid to make these tough calls. He cut X from the Olympic team, knowing he had to coach him for the next 3 years. So I wouldn't be, too concerned that he won't bench him for the rest of the season.
Mate, the last thing I do want to mention is Gorgian's rotations in the Olympics. At times, it felt like he was subbing in guys in and out, and nobody could get in a groove. It almost
Mm.
got some of their guys into the funk. I'm not going out there and saying he's going to do this with the Sydney Kings, but the last time I watched him coach, that's exactly what happened. And this is an extremely talented team, and you could start to see some games where Jalen Adams plays 27 minutes. And that's not what I want out of my 390K NBL Supercoach superstar.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Sometimes it's harder to coach a team with that many great players. There's just not enough minutes to go around. Trying to keep guys happy. Like if they're not winning, it's going to be a really, really long season for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to see some stars leaving, and it's going to be turmoil. I just can't see it happening.
What do you need to see from preseason that may change your mind, or is going to think, yeah, we've hit the nail on the head here?
I mean, for starters, I need to see Sydney play a good team,
Yeah,
and then some actual rotations rather than all the guys just playing 12 minutes and then saying, "Sit down in the corner. We're going to give the young guys a run." I probably need to see Kelly LaPau go and go and start in the regular season. I probably need to see you know, X just own that position and Cam Oliver taking a step back or something like that. Something extreme I need to see because if what I think is going to happen happens, I won't own a Sydney Kings player come round one.
yeah, I agree. The Blitz is going to reveal a lot for us, and it starts this weekend. So, time to tune in.
Sounds good. You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports short podcast. Cheerio.